Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And today, as we record this show on January 2nd, 2024, believe it or not, this is the third in a series of shows dealing with what we call Tony in the Trenches. You see, earlier today, we recorded two shows that would be aired in February, and I thought, oh gosh, we'll have plenty of time. We don't have that many questions. And our own Aaron Orander, when we got through filming the two shows, said, Tony, we still got 11 Tony in the Trenches we've got to cover. So we decided one more time to cover a show with these brand new Tony in the Trenches. So without further ado, let me introduce in the studios America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Good morning again, Aaron, for the third good morning of the morning.
The third good morning at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something. But yeah, it's okay, folks. You don't need to know what time we're recording. We'll just say recording at 3 a.m. That's fine. No big deal. How are you, sir?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for your patience on this. And I think this being able to just to knock these out like this, it's been so helpful, I think, to not only future shows, but these are the questions that people like to know. They're asking questions all the time, and this gives them a chance to see the answers to many of the questions I've received throughout the year.
I would agree, and I thought, these are important questions. There's going to be somebody out there that thinks, man, I didn't call and ask, or I didn't write that in, but that's my situation. That's where I'm at right now. So I think it's important to go through these.
Well, appreciate that. And Derek, you ready to go over there at the helm?
I was going to pretend to be asleep, but I didn't want to throw everybody off.
Can't have you asleep today, folks. If you didn't catch two of the prior episodes, we've got them on the YouTube channel at Tony Walker Financial, but you'll see it's a little more loosey-goosey, but we've had a lot of fun with this. As Aaron said, I guarantee if you stay tuned, one or two of these questions is going to pertain to you, so hang in there. All right, Aaron, let her rip with our first one.
All right, here we go with our first one. Are you ready? Tony, I'm getting ready to turn 70 and have always been an investor, but lately getting tired of worrying about the ups and downs of the stock market, and also worried that if I kick the bucket before my wife, she will be left to deal with all of these investments that she does not understand. I've always relied on Wall Street's 4% rule, but now that I'm older, this makes little sense as I still am dealing with risk. How do I know if now is the time to move to safer investments?
And this is a big question we have, folks. As people age, as they get closer to the second half of life, you have to ask yourself, why in the world are you taking all this risk? Now, we've showed this chart before, but this is really important. This kind of imagines that somebody is out there prior to 2008, and I'd say, well, we're not going to have another 2008 again. I mean, the market tanked, in some cases 50 to 60%. Well, you could. And if you're trying to use the 4% rule, which in theory means you take 4% out of whatever's coming out of the account and whatever it grows to, that's fine as long as the account does well. Now, in this example, just to illustrate, we just took out $20,000 a year. Obviously, it's more than 4%. We're just trying to help you understand how volatile it can be in retirement to have all your money still tied up at Wall Street. And notice in 2005, 2006, 2007, the market did great. You started out at $300, even taking out all that income, you'd still have over $313,000. So the 4% rule is working well. But then something called 08 hits. The market crashes. We show it down. That was the S&P down around 37%. Some of you maybe even did worse. And you're still needing money. So the 4% rule actually theoretically would go in and reduce your income. It's 4% of the balance, and now the balance is down to 184. So that means next year, if you took 4% of 184, it's only about $7,200. Folks, that is insane. So what I did years ago was I came up with the Tony Walker Financial Worry-Free 3% rule, and this is what we give in our income plans. And let me explain this, because a lot of times we'll meet with a prospective client, maybe they're with a Wall Street or over at the money management business, and the person, sometimes will even show the money manager what we do. They see this page and they go, 3%, is that all Walker's earning you? No, but we want to be very conservative in our assumptions moving forward. And notice we also, in this example, we're only showing it growing at 3%. We want to imagine that principal's being spent. The late, great John Bogle said this several years ago. He said, in the 21st century, retirees probably for the first time are going to have to access and spend their principal, which is really sizes up with the live well, die broke philosophy. The live well, die broke philosophy says, number one, you can't take it with you, so you better spend it while you can. And number two, you don't want to wait too long to spend your money, because if you wait too long, then obviously you're just going to have to leave it to somebody else when you die, and more than likely it's going to be taxed to death. So the 3% rule means we're going to be very conservative, we're going to spend the principal, and then we are going to show you through the magic of our split IRA concept and mailbox money how you're not going to run out of money. So here's the question I want to leave you with before we go to our next TNT. Here we go. And imagine we're meeting, and you've seen this now, and you're like, just like Aaron said, this last TNT, you're tired of taking risks. My question would be, if we could accomplish your financial goals in retirement without taking risk, how much risk would you be willing to still take? So what I mean by that is, some people might say, Tony, I don't mind a little bit of risk, maybe 20% of my assets, 25. I just don't want all of it. Well, that's the beauty of our split IRA concept. You get to determine that, and then we monitor that for you to make sure you don't take too much risk, and also that you have plenty of use with your money when you need it. Hope that helps. All right, Aaron, tee up the next one, partner.
Tony, my dad always taught me to never put all of your eggs in one basket. Do you agree with that statement? And if so, why would I ever put all of my eggs with one advisor, such as your firm?
Well, now again, all these are great questions, and I get it where it gets a little confusing, because we're always talking about this idea of the one roof philosophy. So if you have all of your eggs in one basket, I get that. A lot of things could happen. You could trip and fall, and there goes your eggs because one basket collapsed on you. I don't agree with putting everything in one basket, but what I agree with is putting everything under one roof, and here's why. Now, depending on what we're doing at Tony Walker Financial, this would be an example, but look how diversified this is. We can use bank products, government bonds, we can use insurance contracts, which would be annuities and life insurance, etc., and then we can use dividend-oriented ETFs. Not to mention, when you get everything under one roof with Tony Walker Financial, we're going to be calculating your RMDs at no cost to you. In fact, we're going to show you an RMD TNT in just a second. We're going to calculate all your withholdings. You're going to be able to meet with the owner of the company should something come up unexpected and you need some expertise on what to do with funds and where to draw from. And we're even going to get into estate planning issues with folks who are trying to figure out the best way to set up and position assets to be the least amount of burden to your heirs when you pass away. So yes, I agree. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, but as you move into retirement, you need all those baskets under one roof. All right, Aaron, what we got next?
Tony, I'm turning 73 next year and nervous about taking the required minimum distribution. I have 3 separate IRAs and wondering how the end is calculated.
So the RMD, I'll have to admit, when I talk to our tax certified specialists, TJ Reagan and Leanne Tinsley, the most common worry or concern about even our clients is what to do when they turn 73. Now let's explain. The RMD, or required minimum distribution, used to be age 59 and a half. They moved it to 72. Now it's at 73. In the future, I think it's 2033, it moves to 75. That's the age that you have to start taking money out of that tax-infested IRA. So the RMD is a huge issue, but it's really not as bad as you think. So what you have to do is you got to get a game plan around that RMD, make sure everything is under one roof so that somebody is calculating those properly, because if you mess up on one of those RMD distributions, it's a 50% tax penalty. So yes, we need to be careful on how we calculate the RMD. Whiteboard, what's that all about?
You
Eric?
told me to remind you to go to the whiteboard.
Ah, that's right. What would I do without you? All right, come on, let's get over to the whiteboard, because this is some good stuff. All right, so the question is, maybe what if I have multiple IRAs? How's that thing calculated? Do I need to take the RMD from each IRA? Well, let's take a look at this. Let's say you have IRA number 1, it has $200,000. Just had someone call in on this just now. Has a 401k of $100,000. She's getting ready to retire. And then she has an IRA of about another $30,000. She's 68 years of age. So if we total that up, that's $330,000 of pre-tax qualified money. Now again, she's not 73 now. We could still do tax planning around this before RMD age, which with these low tax rates, I would suggest doing. But let's say she says, nah, I don't want to do anything. Just let them grow, Tony. They invest them with us. And maybe at age 73, let's say this one's grown to 250. These are just hypotheticals. 120, and this one's grown to 45. So now it's 73. So what the IRS requires us to do, what we would do in the offices, especially if we have everything under one roof. What's scary, folks, if you've got IRAs spread out with different advisors, one hand might not know what the other hand's doing. So in this example, what is that, 370, we'll just call it 400 just to round it off. So the factor for the first year, now this is ballpark, the factor for the first year is 4% of that amount. So that year, roughly, the RMD, what you have to take out, the minimum you have to take out to pay taxes is $16,000. So it's not as bad as you think. Now, that will go up every year. The idea is the IRS wants their tax revenue, so they're going to force you to take that out. So it will go up every year. But you might look at those assets, and this is where Tony Walker Financial, this is where it's really cool. Because we might have 3 different types of investments, all IRAs, all pre-tax, going on. So let's imagine we got to take $16,000 out, and let's just say we had this in our growth fund, and maybe it was down a little bit. Well, we don't want to take it out of there while it's at a loss. Maybe this has been in an annuity and gone up a little bit over the years, and maybe this one's kind of flatlined, okay? So we're looking at this, and our own Leanne Tinsley, who calculates these every year for our clients at no charge, comes along and says, well, Tony, looks like we're going to take the $16,000 from the account that's not doing much, or we could take it half and half from the account that's grown and maybe the one that's not doing much and leave this one alone. So I guess the answer to that question is you can pick and choose where to take the distributions from in which IRA, but it has to equal that $16,000. Oh, incidentally, I know this wasn't one of our questions, Aaron. I got to throw this in. Keep in mind that even if you're 70 and a half, let me write that up here. This is a cool thing you might want to consider. If you're 70 and a half, assuming you're charitably minded, you can do something called a QCD or qualified charitable distribution, and it doesn't even hit the tax return. And you could do up to $100,000, donate that money to charity, keep it off your tax return, and what that's going to do is lower those amounts, so when you hit 73, it's going to lower your RMD. So whether you're eligible or should be doing this QCD really depends on your situation, which is why, again, I would encourage you to contact us for that free appointment, that second opinion at TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or simply call the number on your screen. Did you realize that if you have more than $250,000 in retirement assets, the government could tax as much as 40% of it when you go to take it out? And with current tax rates set to expire in 2025, the taxes you will owe on your 401k could climb even higher. Don't wait until 2025 to see how much Uncle Sam will take of your money. Get a game plan by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. All right, let's keep moving here in the essence of time. Aaron, what else you got over there for me?
Okay, Tony, here we go. Tony, I know you are a big fan of annuities, but what happens to the annuities you provide when me and my spouse are deceased? Is there anything left for our kids?
Okay, again, this is really, really complicated, but also misunderstood. It depends on the type of annuity. Okay, with most modern day annuities, and again, folks, we've got a great brochure on this. It's called Annuities Made Easy. I wrote this little booklet. You can order it, download it online at Tony Walker Financial, or just email Gina at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. She'll be happy to mail you a hard copy. You need to read this booklet because a lot of misconceptions about this. Most modern day annuities, at your death, whatever is left in what's called the contract value will go to your heirs. That could include your wife, and it can include children, nieces, nephews. You can name anybody on an annuity. In fact, I have sometimes people will say, you know what, we got plenty of money. Maybe they've inherited some money. They don't really need it. They put it in an annuity just for protection, and they want to leave that money to their heirs, maybe even bypass the spouse. Maybe both of them would like to get that out of their name. You can name any beneficiary you want on the annuity. So at your death, that 100% of that money, less whatever you've withdrawn, would go to your beneficiary. So it all depends. If it's an immediate annuity, sometimes those do not go. If you have a newer modern day annuity with an income rider, keep in mind, when you start that mailbox money, it is going to start drawing against the original principal that could be left to your children or grandchildren. There may not be any money on that depending on how long you draw your mailbox money. Again, my suggestion, before rushing out and buying an annuity, get a second opinion from us at Tony Walker Financial. Hope that helps.
Okay, Tony, here's the next one. Tony, I will be retiring in a few years and would rather not have any debt in retirement. We have a pretty low mortgage rate on our home of around 3%, so not sure if it is best to pay it off or not. What say you?
All right, I'm going to erase this, Aaron. And so this is a huge issue, folks. Many people are nervous about having debt in retirement. Again, this show is geared towards savers. This is not a show with investors and speculators. So let's just go with 3%, okay? As we record this show in January of 2024, interest rates have spiked. They've gone up. A home mortgage, Aaron, you said you were getting ready to refinance. Was it the 7% range?
Yeah, it's around 7, yeah.
Okay. So this person maybe locked in a rate of 3% several years ago. I got to admit, that is a low rate. In fact, we could take that same amount of money and earn a MYGA, multi-year guaranteed annuity, well over 5% as we record this show. But the point is not the interest rate, it's the cash flow needed. So let's just say the loan payment. So remember, folks, retirement planning is cash flow. It's not even really budgeting, all right? So let's just say whatever that loan was, this person, even though it's 3%, the principal and interest to pay back that loan is $1,500 a month. Now that's money after tax. So that means before tax, okay, we need to pull out, let's say the only place we can get it is their tax-infested IRA. We got to pull out $2,000 a month, pay the taxes on it to net $1,500. So if all this is about cash flow, if we could eliminate certain things, if we eliminated that, now granted we might have to use current assets to do it. We have to look at the different assets you have, but if we could eliminate that, that's $2,000 a month after tax or $1,500 a month after tax we can spend on something else. Enjoy ourselves, travel, whatever. So a lot of people, if you have this IRA sitting over here, that's what we would do. If we're managing that, we're going to make some tax considerations on whether we pull more and more money out from there, maybe even have a Roth or some after-tax money. We're going to try to keep those tax brackets in check. But in many cases, a lot of savers like the idea of paying it off. It's not as much economical, although it does have economic effects when you consider cash flow. It's more psychological. So I can summarize it this way. Of all the people I've ever recommended paying off their houses, I've never had anybody come back in retirement. Now I'm talking about into retirement and say, man, I wished I hadn't paid that off. All of them have been glad because I think they understand that cash flow is a bigger issue than the economics of a particular loan you might have. Be happy to walk through that with you. I wouldn't rush to pay off your house though. Remember, a lot of tax consequences involved in trying to get that money to pay off the house. We're happy to help you with that. All right, Aaron. Back to the monitor here. Derek, what do we got queued up here? Getting ready to go next. Oh gosh. Yeah, while Aaron's doing that, he's getting it set up here. This is interesting. Backdoor Roth IRAs. First of all, these are options. We do not do these. And I want to tell you why we don't do them. Look at this, if done right. Now, a backdoor Roth IRA, the most you can contribute anyway under 2024 rules is $8,000 a year. Now, I know that's not chump change. I don't mean that. But we're not going to track these every year. Somebody's going to have to track these. They're a little bit controversial. Some people are wondering if the IRS is going to come back and put a halt to this. To me, if you're going to do a Roth, that's fine. Do it within your 401k or up to the limits. But if you don't qualify, that's what this is talking about. If you make too much money and don't qualify, don't worry about it, okay? Down the road, you can always do Roth conversions. We can help you with those. More significant tax savings, if you ask me. Easier to track 1 or 2 Roth conversions versus 10 or 12 backdoor IRAs and somebody trying to keep up with those. So it's my suggestion. Also, you can consider sometimes whether a Roth is even that great of an investment right now. If you're in a higher income bracket right now, it may be better to go on and do the pre-tax and then down the road do some tax planning. So backdoor Roth IRAs are an option. It's just something Tony Walker Financial in most cases does not suggest due to the complexity of tracking these over time.
Our employee spotlight shines brightly today on Miss Gina Tutwiler. Good morning, Gina.
Good morning, Tony.
And first of all, tell the folks how long you've been with Tony Walker Financial, when you started.
September of 2014.
Wow. and explain your duties. I know you work as an office manager, but your main duties, which are really unique to our industry.
I am an in-house media buyer. I buy all of Tony's media for all of his TV shows, radio shows, and everything else.
And it is a lot to keep up with. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
And we've got this theme because I think everybody enjoys their work here, but I'd like to know, coming from you, what is it you enjoy most about working for Tony Walker Financial?
I love to see all the clients come in, and they're so appreciative of all the hard work and service that we give them, and that they're enjoying, and they come in with great stories to tell us how much they're enjoying their retirement. And I think that's fabulous.
Oh, I appreciate it. And we appreciate you so much running the Louisville office, greeting those clients, and making sure everything runs smoothly there. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today.
All right, Aaron, we still good to go?
Yeah, here's our next one, and it's about this book right here in my hands. Tony, I'm intrigued by the book you wrote, Live Well, Die Broke. But I must admit, the idea of dying broke does not appeal to me. Help me understand the philosophy behind this book.
Well, the Live Well, Die Broke philosophy really was kind of born out of just, I've been doing this so long, and again, the major mistake that I've seen people make is they wait too long to spend their money. And then as the old saying goes, you can't take it with you anyway. So I just found this very interesting. In fact, Derek, while I'm talking about this, if you can pull up the 3 halves of life graphic, why don't you find that and see if you can pull that up? Because I found it interesting in working with people into the retirement years. Yeah, thank you. Last year alone in 2023, we had over 50 death claims. And many of these people were in their 60s and early 70s. This year in that was 2022. 2023, we had over 50 again. So just in a 2-year period of time, we had over 100 death claims. These are people that will never spend another penny. These are people that left spouses who are not probably going to spend as much money for various reasons. Maybe they're going to do less travel. Things change, and they really change when you get into what we call the second half of life. So the idea is we actually want to spend more money during halftime, and we intentionally want those balances going down during your lifetime, not going up. So Wall Street, the financial world, they've scared everybody. They want this money to just climb and climb and climb. And then as people get older, I found they don't spend that much money anyway. And the idea is we want to try to die broke. Now, how do we keep from literally dying broke? You don't want to run out of money. That's where we put in the annuities. So the annuities provide us that guaranteed income you can never outlive. So when you do get way down in your mid-70s or 80s or even 90s, that income is guaranteed to last as long as you do. So I hope that helps. All right, Aaron, next up.
Okay, next up. Here we go. Let's keep rolling. Says, Tony, I've been shopping around for an advisor and mentioned to one of them I met recently with you. His response was as follows. Well, all that guy is doing is selling you an annuity. Is this true?
All right, I wished I had a nickel for every time somebody mentioned that. And here's the thing, folks. I've done this almost 40 years. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It doesn't bother me. But of all the people that come in and they're meeting with other advisors, Aaron, I don't ever try to give judgment on other advisors. I just assume they're wanting a second opinion. So if somebody comes to me from another advisor, I assume there's something that is not quite right, but I'm not going to get on the advisor or speak for them. So it's really interesting that advisors, this is generally what they'll say, go ahead, all that guy's going to slap you in an annuity. And I don't know where this comes from. Now, there was a period of time, really from about 2002 to around 2014 and there, where we didn't do a lot of securities. We pretty much focused on annuities only. We got away from the annuities, we got away from the securities, went solely to annuities, and I think that's where this started. But folks, I've been licensed to sell securities since the mid-'80s. We revamped our program, and in 2017 started our Charles Schwab platform. We have nearly $240 million with Charles Schwab with 2,000 accounts. But it gets even better. Look at all the types of things we can offer here. These are services. We can do 401k, IRA, pension rollovers. Obviously, we can do the annuities, the retirement planning. Our income planning department and our software, I think, is second to none. I've never seen anything like it. We created this personally for our clients. This is some of the best software in the industry because it helps track and monitor your progress. It is not retirement calculating software. It is a retirement planning software. We can offer life insurance and long-term care insurance. We have tax and fee analysis at no cost. Now, again, we don't do your taxes. What we're trying to do is help you with tax planning and making sure the fees on your investments, they're not gouging you to death. And we can show you in most cases how to save a lot of money in annual fees. Obviously, through our Charles Schwab platform, we can do the investing for you, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, bank products, you name it, we can do all that. We can help you figure out when to take Social Security. We're running out of time for today's show, but I mean, that could be a question all of itself, is when to take Social Security. The answer is, it just depends, and you have to have a game plan to help you determine that. We can hook you up with somebody that does Medicare supplements. We have a third-party contact. They do a wonderful job. We coordinate with that, with our plan, and let those folks find those Medicare supplements. We can do some Medicaid crisis planning. Most of that has to go through attorneys, but at least we can sit down and make sure we get all the assets to those attorneys that are specializing in what we call elder care law. And from the estate planning standpoint, I do a lot of estate planning. Again, you have to get with attorneys to effectuate a lot of the plans we put in place, but I've done this a long time. I can generally come up with a simple way to pass assets on to your loved ones when you die. So when you meet with the attorney, your time is spent very efficiently with them. All right, we've got to get one more question in here. Sure really got time, Aaron.
Yeah, Tony, we got time for one more question, and it's a really quick hitter. Tony, we know you get paid, but how do you get paid?
Very good, and that comes up a lot. So here's the only two ways we get paid, folks. This is why we have to have money to work with to do the planning. We're either going to get a commission that usually comes from insurance products, life insurance, long-term care, and annuities. Those commissions are paid to us by the insurance companies. They do not come out of your pockets. That's no additional out-of-pocket cost to you. Obviously, we can go over surrender charges and how that works, but basically you let them pay us the commission. Those are what's called insurance products. Then we have our Charles Schwab platform. That's management for a fee, or AUM, assets under management. That's what most people do in our business. The average fee with most of the other guys, the big money managers out there, and a lot of them aren't doing any planning, quite frankly, is 1.5%. Our fee currently is 0.8%. So in conclusion, if everything being equal, what's interesting is sometimes the commissionable products actually put more money in your pocket, especially if there's no fees. If we charge less fees, we've still got a lot more money in your pocket. But look how much less money you would have in your pocket under the same circumstances with the fees at 1.5%. So folks, in conclusion, if you want a money manager, that's fine. But if you want a retirement planning specialist that, full disclosure, charges reasonable fees, understands annuities, and more importantly, provides that game plan at no out-of-pocket cost to you, why don't you do this? Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started button, or simply call the toll-free number on your screen. We would love to hear from you at any time. Well, we hope you've enjoyed these Tony in the Trenches, these last 3 episodes. We've enjoyed being with you, but you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.